Happy birthday again.
Thank you.
Zoe. You're getting an entertaining match for your birthday, but what did you wish for, little girl, for your birthday?
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Sorry? Merry Christmas.
Yeah, that's how birthdays fit to me. It's every birthday is a Christmas too. I wanted good entertainment and Overwatch, and that's exactly what I got, obviously.
Well, yeah,
especially with Max on support.
We had all these points to talk about, but we gotta address the elephant in the room, the tank in the room that's on support. Necro, what is happening?
I feel like the desk covered so many different options, but only one way to find out, and that's to throw us into the game and see what they're actually going to bring to the table. Because even you and I were talking about this when we saw the lineups and heading into our very first map, like, okay, Titans picked this, so San Francisco Shock, this is out of their control, but they can start to make adjustments here in terms of their lineup to actually give them a better shot at this. And Jen, you were talking about the fact that maybe we get a chance to see some Wrecking Ball or Winston come out from Junbin here.
And I'm glad we're seeing these maps, because that's the exact point of Junbin. Last patch played the Hammond, played the Winston, that's strong on Gardens and City Center, maybe not so much on University. Don't worry about that though, because that ain't the case. Now, if I had to cook quickly, I would say off tanks have good mechanics. You sometimes see that on flex support. The Washington Justice had Mirror do this. It's quite uncommon, of course. Usually it's DPS that would pick up that role, but Max is on the Zen, and we made sure, Nekra, to look through his resume. Never once has he ever played support in Pacific or Korean contenders.
I would have liked to see the double flex support here, but I don't think that's what we're getting. I don't... Max? We'll see about this one. Everything else looks pretty stock standard coming out from the Shock. We haven't seen a whole lot of this Sombra actually within this patch, and it might prove beneficial for some of these higher mobility characters come out from the Titans. Especially if you're able to nail Crimzo in the backline, you're now forcing him to have to use all of the survivability cooldowns to keep himself alive versus the rest of the team. But if you nail somebody with that hack like Faith or Sugar Free specifically, one of the better Genjis that we have in the West, you're really limiting their ability to actually do anything against your team.
Ooh, yeah. Junbin went for the boop and actually got booped himself there by Faith. Shock playing the composition of last patch, and the last time these two teams met was less than 2 weeks ago on the last patch of the Winston double flanker, and it was the Titans that won that 3-1. So Titans, especially Punk, can he pull Junbin before he escapes? Of course, Hammond has a lot of health to get through. Do the Titans have enough? And it looks like, well, while Junbin is summoning all the attention, the flankers of the Shock made their way behind the Titans, took care of Crimzo, and a bulk of that healing is now gone. Of course, it's City Center of Oasis, so you can contest this for a long time, but Junbin wants to end things quickly. What a pile drive as Titans were stuck in the corner with the anti of Finn. It's just a cherry on top.
Oh, it's so good. And you could see too, like, Crimzo feels forced in this moment to have to switch over to the Kiriko because the Baptiste is just too vulnerable. Looking at the Sombra coming out from Proby, those hacks have been so impactful. Not only to be able to shut off those cooldowns coming through from the Titans, but also to initiate the dive. Because this is a composition we've seen so far coming out from the Shock, we know that this is tried and true for them. I mean, look at the pile driver there. Everybody gets flattened like a pancake.
Yeah, Crimzo already had to use the Suzu. They have to be aware of Junbin's setups, but he could just be a distraction like we said before. Proby and Proper can be the true threats, but 150 HP. Junbin gets away just in time. I like that Sugar Freeze on the Tracer. It's a good counter to chase down that Hammond before they get the health pack. And Titans unleashing. He's saying, who strikes down Max, no supports for the Shock, and it's flipped back over to the Titans.
Titans using the overclock there was a really nice way to shut down what the Shock were trying to throw at them, but there weren't too many ultimates used here. Finn invested the Nano, tried to make Max the ultimate raid boss on the Brigitte, but it wasn't quite enough to deal with that one-shot potential coming through for the Sojourn. But now that the Titans have control, this is where the going gets really tough because Proby now has free reign of the backline to try to land this EMP, since that was not something that they utilized in this last fight.
EMP hitting 3 though, and Faith does even want to use the sound mirror. That would have to have been the quickest reaction. You're only hacked for a second, but with Crimzo down, this might not be a fight that Titans want to invest in, or maybe Crimzo can get back in time with the teleport. Fate does make the call still. 4-man barrier as Titans still holding on by the skin of their teeth. This point still accumulating in favor of the Titans. The rampage canceled by Punk. Not able to escape in time. Shock barely any healing with Max as their only support. As everyone is fighting on the point, it's now what, 3v3, and now slowly going Shock's favor. With great coordination at the end, it's Shock that prevailed.
Okay, all right. I was gonna be a little patient waiting to see what the Shock were cooking up for us, but Jen, I think I'm eating. This Max Brigitte was so strong, especially if you're just able to put the Brigitte in a little room. I don't think anyone on the Titans is going to want to face up against that. And this has been so strong also to really help keep Proper and Proby alive. Fortunately, you are going to see that pulse bomb miss, but Titans have to come into this one with the Kitsune Rush.
Ooh, Proper got caught off guard. Titans came through the stairs and Proper didn't know. So here's a Kitsune Rush. Titans, great rotations, again, to surprise the Shock. If you let Shock set up off the hacks, off the pile drive, that's how the Titans were suffering. So Titans take control in their own hands.
Great point, because the dive coming through from Shock, when you have the Sombra in play, does have to play a little bit more patiently. One hack is not normally enough to be able to initiate the dive. It's enough to be able to get out some of those bigger cooldowns, like if you can force out the Suzu from Crimzo, then you can go in with something else. But Shock did get their point to 1 fight potential, and they did just knock somebody off of that high ground.
Sugar Free dueling against Proper, but Heesang strikes down Proby. So you got that 5v4 for the Titans. I mean, Shock weren't really ready to engage. But this is 80% plus territory coming down to the last fight. So Vancouver want to push that envelope against the Shock, and now taking down both supports. Max and Finn gone. Shunbin doesn't have any healing. And at 96+%, maybe Proper and Proby can contest. Proper shut down on the highway side, so he can't. The first round goes to the Titans.
Titans had such a nice comeback in this round as well. San Francisco Shock came out of the gates with something that was really surprising and unique in terms of what we have seen from this meta so far. We have seen a little bit of Wrecking Ball if you take a look over in APAC, but hasn't really made too much of an appearance in the West during this patch. So what a nice way to kind of, you know, surprise the Titans a little bit, see if they're gonna get a little bit smart to this strategy. But as you said, going over to University, that's not a strat that can work here. So we have to see what Shock can come out with in terms of Dunbin being in this lineup instead. Over Max, when they play the tank, it's usually going to be the Junker Queen.
And with that comp that the Shock ran, they were so dispersed, and Titans running that Queen. With the Genji, you just need a firm target to go after, and with how mobile Shock were, that just was too difficult for the Titans. The surprise factor helped them a little bit. Now we go to University, where Shock swap back now to Orisa, Reaper, May. Seeing if they can wall off Punk, that would be a big key to success. Heesang and Sugar Free can climb over it, so can Faith and Crimzo. So how do the Titans make sure they break down the wall and enable Punk as much as possible? Shock using it defensively so far. Titans had someone behind them, don't seem to be too perturbed. But Titans still want to cap this first, and Punk is separated away from the flock, and Shock realized this, putting a lot of damage into the Titans backline while Punk is rotating back. And that really costed Titans being able to defend this point or even be almost able to cap it. So Shock are back in the driver's seat.
They traded support so early. Finn and Crimzo both went down within milliseconds of each other. But San Francisco Shock had that positional advantage where they were able to play around that natural architecture of the map and start to push the pressure. Titans will be able to come back into this one, and it's going to end up being more of that Punk Orisa. But the Maywall gets forced out really early here from Proper. This is a great opportunity for the Titans to go in.
And the fact they scouted Proby, who was ready to react to that Maywall, hiding into the corner, then gets headshot. So Titans again reading what Shock are putting down and having a reaction, having a plan. But now that Shock are ready for this fight, well, they are able to trade blow for blow, but Titans are flipping the point. Shock will at least die on this objective to extend what little they have, 41%, before Titans take it back.
They're doing a great job of stalling too, especially when we have the Reaper. It's not super easy for Punk to just start to push forward. Otherwise, you do know that you have to kind of deal with that damage mitigation, but take a look at that. Like, Shock still walk away with 40% of this point. And now Vancouver Titans get a chance to start working up that percentage of their own. But Jen, this is going to be rough for San Francisco Shock. Titans have 5 ultimates in the bank. They could throw literally anything that they wanted at this fight and should be able to find the value, but it's about actually converting these ults over without blowing everything in the tank.
Great javelin there from Junbin. It got sugar free. You want to deny that blade, but Junbin committed so much to it while forgetting what was happening behind him. Titans dismantled the Shock behind Junbin and, well, take the fight.
That was just the amplification matrix and the overclock used as well. Both of those just such great zoning tools. Finn only had to invest the coalescence there, so now it's starting to look a little bit more even. Max having this sound barrier is so big to be able to deal with. Sugar Free's bladed, and Heesang goes down already.
Heesang extended forward to look for Poke, but he gets headshot by Proper. Still a 4v3 in favor of the Shock. The blade for Sugar Free to find the equalizer, and so he does! And he even lives through the Death Blossom, the rain of bullets coming from the Shock, and it's Titans that stand tall.
That is what you expect from one of the top Alarm Rookie of the Year candidates. Sugar Free, able to get that blade through, and where did Max's sound barrier go? Who got that? Okay, well, what happened? He's saying, stop, please. Please stop getting kicked off.
Who needs a barrier when you get kills, I guess? But Titans are giving up that space. 97%. They know that winning one fight will give them the map. It's Shock that needs to place this Blizzard and control, manipulate Titans into an area where they can maximize the value. But Faith, it'll be up to him to speed them out of this ultimate. Titans being careful where they enter, using the Amp Matrix to find some picks off of the Shock, who hide through the hallway. Junbin is closing that down, so there's no access to that mini pack there from the Titans. So they have to go in through the center, as Sugar Free is rotating through the flank thanks to Faith's rotations. Sugar Free gets picked off yet again by Proper. The mechanics on the Mei has gotten Shock so many picks, and now Proby adding to that equation. Shock very close to tying the score.
And Punk too, just playing on his own, trying to duel head-on with Junbin. Was a little bit of that 2v1 scenario, but it also left the rest of the Titans vulnerable to what was going on through their amplification matrix. Just saw Proper put up the wall, and there was nothing to be done about that one. And now Finn has one of his own. And can Shock actually close it out here? They still have that Blizzard to use.
Titans have to wait for this AM Matrix to be done. It's really well placed there by Finn. Good coverage on the point. Now the final fight for the map or round 3. It's the Blizzard from Proper. It doesn't freeze anyone. It was just on top of themselves. And Punk, well, he makes the space of his own. Now surging forward. Junbin is off on his own. Sugar Free dismantles the backline with the blade and saves the fight once again for the Titans. They take back the point. There's no one to contest. Map number 1 goes to the Titans.
Titans with a nice strong start, especially after the San Francisco Shock tried to pull the hood over their eyes, and it almost worked. Jen, that was a much closer map than I would have anticipated. Seeing those roster swaps come through here for the Shock, for Max to play a bit of an off role, and then Junbin to come in and play that tank. Didn't quite work out this time, but now the onus is on the Shock to pick the next map.
I feel like Junbin had a lot of good ideas, but didn't have the support. Proper's mechanics got them picks. Finn and Matrix, great usage, but it's team play. That's what's hurt the Shock. That's what hurt them against the London Spitfire. They're changing a composition that they feel they were more confident in from the previous patch. And yes, they were able to surprise Titans at some points on City Center. But it's Titans that have practiced together as this 5-man squad with this composition. And Titans, well, against maybe a composition that they haven't practiced much against, you know, the Hammond, at least not for a while, they still were able to prevail.
It was really cool to watch those adjustments happen in real time as well. And that's something that I think is very, speaks so strongly to how the Titans usually end up approaching these matchups as well. Like, this is a team that has played together for a long time. There's only 5 of them. There are no roster swaps that they can make except to try to put players into off roles, but it is great to see what they can do when given the opportunity, and let's see how far this series can go.
And we'll find out how the series will go on Numbani. Shock's pick, fate in their hands. We'll find out what happens after the break. Vancouver Titans up a map after Oasis went their way after both rounds, but Necro, they've been known to have strong starts in series, but it's how they end that maybe the Vancouver fans don't want to talk about. They haven't won a match this patch yet, but 2 Game 5s. And usually a lot of success around Control.
Yeah, 2 Game 5s and a lot more during the season that they haven't been able to finish out either. So I'm just hoping that they can also keep up that momentum and bring forward that confidence into these next few maps in a series. Usually where they start to struggle is when we do go to maps where we switch sides. So having an explicit attack and defense, such as our hybrid map that's next up in this series. But there's another change we got to talk about here, and that's going to be the San Francisco Shock lineup.
Yeah, Luke Camino in over Max. The cooking is done. Luke Camino, last time we saw him was when the Shock played the Vegas Eternal on this very patch, where he came in on the first control map of Antarctic and New Junk City Flashpoint. So really needing that aggressive Lucio. Don't get to see Luke Camino as much as Renko, but they seem to be wanting to go back to their old patch prowess with keeping Junbin in that lineup.
That is something that strikes me as very interesting. Like, I don't know if I would consider this fully cooking. Like, yeah, Max out of the roster. Okay, maybe we're starting to bring things down to a little bit of a simmer. Luke Camino coming back in is still interesting because we haven't seen him so much more recently. It has been Renko on the Lucio, but Renko's nowhere to be seen so far in the series. I wonder if they're actually going to come out of the gates with this one, but at the very least, what we're seeing from the Titans is what we kind of expected. Punk going to stick to the Orisa, despite the fact that we did see the Junker Queen a little bit earlier on City Center for Oasis, but the Orisa is just able to push the pressure just a little bit more and has a lot more staying power than something like the Junker Queen.
And Shock are going away from that style that they began play-ins with, which is a lot around the Symmetra, at the very least the Bastion, and realizing that the coordination, yes, that composition has so much high damage potential, but the coordination, the execution is something so difficult that Sugar-Free misses the dash, and the focusing beam almost claims him. The burning of the dynamite does the job, and Proby's 2K may just open things up for the Shock, but they still need Jump In to push forward. With these 2 picks, the Shock should be pressuring the point more, and it seems like the Ashe of Proby and Finn are starting to cap that. Jump In is always that pain train that is chasing targets, and well, Shock will finally cap.
Oh, that's so rough to watch. Like, Titans at that point, I know what they were trying to do was just stabilize themselves, but now Faith is in the back, could get picked off, is going to be able to escape with his life, but that is such a rough position to be in, where it is one of the tanks that goes down last, so now you gotta wait to be able to come back into this one. But Punk is gonna take the immediate swap. It doesn't feel like the Orisa is it, and I really like the Junker Queen look from Punk. Punk was one of the only players last season that decided to pick up the Junker Queen when no one else was. And that's why he got like the cute little moniker of the Punker Queen. So I'm excited to see the Punker Queen back in action. This is one of the strongest looks that this team has, and it's because of how much experience Punk has on this hero.
And Sugar-Free to the Tracer. This is just going to be to chase down this proper Echo when he can, but with the support of a Mercy, can be a little difficult to take that 1v2, but when you have a tactical visor, when you have a soldier, even without the ultimate, that can pick off the Mercy, if you catch her in kind of mid-Guardian Angel crossing a path in that straight line, that's where these hit scan of Titans can dismantle that proper Luke Camino duo.
Luke Camino is a slippery one, though. Like, we have seen Luke Camino play this hero before, and if you're able to use the Guardian Angel really effectively, especially when there's so much space around Bonnie, you might just be able to keep yourself out of dodge, but Proby this time could not. That's why Luke Camino is here.
It's a good nano from towards Punk so that he can anchor the objective as much as he can, but how much space that an Orisa can create. You hit the Javelin against the Junker Queen, you push her back, you have Fortify, you have a lot more sustain as an Orisa compared to the Junker Queen, but it's how you enable it. The Suzu to help Junbin, and he does back away, holding on to that card as much as they can. The Shock want to go towards point B, and the Titans are so unhealthy, but they are supporting each other and removing that tank. Junbin is almost too aggressive and sometimes goes in on his own, and Titans are realizing this and putting all that focus into that tank.
Oh, that was such a nice Suzu from Finn, though. Like, Jumpin had got stuck with Sugar Free's Pulse Bomb, and you saw the Suzu to even cleanse the ante as well, just so Jumpin wouldn't actually fall to either of those abilities. But Shock, yeah, like, Jumpin just seems to find himself out of position, maybe a little bit too far forward. Oh, look at Hisei behind them! They don't know what hit them!
They don't know! What a play there by Hisei, and... is he gonna stay here? And even if he doesn't want to, he rotates to the left side. How are Shock gonna want to approach this? Do you want to go and dislodge Hisei, or do you want to push forward, hope that you zone off the damage of Hisei and just fight the Titans 5v4? Shock have an important decision to make if Hisei even stays there.
I think Hisei is rotated around. Nope, he's still back there. You know what? I love this position from him, though. Because, yeah, what do you do? Who do you even send after him? Like, you can't get Finn up onto the high ground, and Proby has to hit a shot.
Well, Shock went with the ladder. They played the 5v4. Hisei is still rotating into the fight. So the damage scales tilt the favor towards the Shock. And they've already dealt with the Titans' support, so there's nothing that Hisei could really do, especially without an ultimate. So the creativity from the Titans ends up finding them in the butt, and Shock should be in a position to cap B.
You say that, but Punk and Faith, they're still alive. They're still kicking. They're buying so much time for the rest of the team to get back. And they even had taken down a few members with them. And oh god, Jumpin's in danger.
You gotta match the energy and the vibes of Jumpin. When he wants to go in, Finn has to be on top. Giving him all the cards and the love. Terra Surge from Jumpin, and with all the speed the Titans have, they're mobile enough to escape. The Shock would be in a position to cap B if they kept up the pressure, if they kept up the healing to Jumpin to hold on to the space that they had. But with the sound barrier re-engaged, that is enough to overwhelm the Titans and finally give Shock the point B cap they wanted.
It did take a lot of time and effort, though, and so now Shock do have 3 minutes to work with heading into the rest of this point. But with Proby, actually, with the overclock, this could become a snowball. If Proby's able to round this corner with the cart, you able to get this really nice straightaway, then you're just able to get enough picks to just walk this over the line. You do have Crimso coming back out on the Kiriko, though, that was to be able to get back to the Titans to try to defend that second point. But now, too, that means that the Suzu is available if you want to be able to use that to just keep somebody alive. Punk, though, playing really aggressive, has his rampage ready.
A Sugar Free also pulse bombs Lucamino, must have went up top, and that's a 4-man rampage from Punk. And I love the spacing. He backed away so he wasn't just going too deep there with that rampage. And that's the fantastic understanding that Punk has of the hero.
And such smart understanding from the rest of the team, too, that if they nail Lucamino, all of a sudden, Shock don't have the ability to just kite away from that rampage. And so that is the team coordination we have come to expect out of a team like the Titans. And that's something that Shock are going to have to keep cleaning up over the course of this series to be able to play around Jumpin's aggressive pushes.
Well, if Shock have issues with the high ground, which Sugar Free did a good job of warding them away, well, Shock are just gonna send the whole army to zone off Sugar Free. You can still go back up the stairs. It's the overclock, though, from Proby. That's only to focus down Punk, because he knows he likes to escape in funny locations that the Titans can't always access, but Punk is well supported. Crimso pays with his life. Kitsune Rush left behind, and the Titans... well, it doesn't seem like a winnable fight to them. They'd rather play the respawn advantage. They know Shock have to push the cart, so Titans don't want to push their luck.
Gotta back up, otherwise they feed over more ultimate charge as well, knowing that the Shock had just invested ultimates, maybe a team fight to go. So you don't want to give them that opportunity or that gas to be able to just keep pushing forward. And so, wow, Hisei's getting so up close and personal.
Oh my god, the momentum of the Terra Surge pulled Hisei enough that the jump with the Sojourn was not enough to distance him away. Good shutdown there by Jumpin, and proper no matter what hero he plays. May or Torbjorn, he proves that his mechanics are supreme. A 2K to stagger off the Titans, who now have Sugar Free on the Tracer to touch. Proper shuts that down. Here comes Punk on the Arista. A lot of sustain there, but with Hisei unable to be left alone on that off angle, there's just no kill potential coming out of this defense, so the Shock will cap with 26 seconds.
Oh man, how many times have we seen Hisei go down first? Like, it's so disappointing to watch, especially when Hisei is playing such a ranged hero. Sojourn does not need to be so far forward to deal with these fights. And if he was a little bit far back, maybe he has the ability to pick off Junbin before the Terra Surge lands. Like, you know, these two teams are very scrappy. They don't always play perfect, but it is about the follow-up there that is so important for both of these teams, especially when they know that this is it. So I just really like to be able to see some of these small micro adjustments to make sure that they're both playing to the best of their abilities.
Feels like Shock have control of this map. The way that they're puppeteering the Titans, who like to take these off angles, like Sugar Free on the high ground gets the pulse bomb on Lucamino. Shock don't let that happen again. They learn from their mistakes, while as in previous matches, you might have thought that that would get to them mentally. And I'm sure Shock, after the previous match, talked to each other about how to stay composed in tough situations like this, because there are no second chances here in this lower bracket. Titans shut down on the off angle, as I said, with Sugar Free on the high ground, to now trying to get Punk by himself, forcing Crimzo to have to step forward to heal Punk, and then picking off Crimzo. It's Punk or Crimzo that are going to die in that situation, and he's saying when he likes to bring out that creativity of the soldier, sometimes he's a boon, and sometimes he's Bane. So Titans, how do they cap this on their own? The offense is out.
That's a great point. I mean, you know, when we see Shock making these adjustments, that is the perfect example of just keep on keeping on until you are able to start to play a little bit more coordinated and together. But one of the ways that Vancouver Titans can really start to disrupt that is with this Bastion. If they're all able to play together like this, then this dive coming up from the San Francisco Shock on the defense might not be as impactful. Like, who do you single out here?
Lucamino and Finn did not rotate away. If you're in the phase of an Orisa, you're already dead. The javelins is in such a critical stun, and you're just not escaping that. The Discord Orb is a great idea to try and chunk down Orisa, which we said has so much sustain, but not if you don't have the space to do so. Shock really need to communicate that intel and the quick pushes that the Titans do, so Titans cap so quickly off that.
Well, especially when Punk, like he's saying, especially, look, you can call out, maybe he goes a little bit too far forward, but he also just plays so aggressive. And it's the pace overall that the Vancouver Titans really work with that makes it so difficult for a team like the Shock to actually be able to push forward. Like, you're looking at setup here. That's why San Francisco Shock have switched off of that Wrecking Ball, because maybe Propi gets a hack, maybe you're able to move on that. But now when the Vancouver Titans just continue to just pummel you in the front line, you don't have time to get that set up.
Yeah, Shock at least hoping to have more distance to work with to apply that Discord Orb, and Junbin should not be zoning himself off into this room out of healing access of Lucamino and Finn, and that is a critical mistake. And a risk that is left unchecked, or I guess now Punk that's on Diva, a tank that is left unchecked. It is so much of a push that the Titans can work towards. Halfway now to beat, which can turn into a snowball, but Titans once again trying to utilize these off angles for their hit scan is getting punished, even with a Sombra of all things. So Shock, how do they handle now this Dragon Blade of Sugar Free, who's popped off on Oasis before? The immortality is what keeps him up, and he can't escape in time. Junbin on top also to block off the heals with the bubble. It's an amazing idea out of the Shock to stop this avalanche that's being created by the Titans.
We're seeing the most intense game of rock, paper, scissors I think I've ever seen outside of Punk and Custa squaring off during that interview. Because take a look at all of these different hero swaps that are coming through from either team. I mean, you called out the Winston, those bubbles, so impactful to just help stave off a ton of that damage. And you also can't deflect that if you're a Genji. So now we're gonna see yet another swap as Sugar Free goes over to the Tracer this time to try to deal with the backline too.
Crimzo is such a target! The sound barrier of Faith! I don't know if that was calculated or lucky, but it saved Crimzo. Saves the fight for the Titans. Shock are not looking so healthy. Titans in a 5v4, but so much time being bought there by Finn's Transcendence. But this is just to help them not die, not necessarily take back any space. But the Titans still need a few more seconds to get this point B capped, and with that stagger on the proper, Shock, if they do want to contest, they have to do so in 4v5, but Junbin doesn't contest. He might have got even booped slightly off of the cart, but the Titans, they're rolling. They have 2 extra minutes to push point C compared to what the Shock had.
Oh, Faith is always calculated. I think Faith might be one of the most underrated Lucios in the entire league. Especially when you take a look at the mechanics, the timing of how the sound barrier went down, and it was a boop that actually pushed Junbin back from being able to get that contest on the cart. Faith is going to move over to the Brigitte. It's a little bit better for staying power versus a Tracer that is so good like Proper, but Vancouver Titans are still investing in this. There's the nano onto Punk.
He got nano, but he was so low, just jumping right into an amp matrix there of Lucamino. Titans, they did their best to try and zone off that ultimate, but ultimately sacrificing Punk and the self-destruct, not netting any kills. So the Titans will have to reset, but it's not a big deal. They got plenty of time.
They have so much time to work with, and because San Francisco Shock capped with 26 seconds left, it doesn't really matter what the Titans do here. They will always be able to get another chance as long as they just capture these points. And it's gonna get easier and easier too as Yiseng's ready to go with the overclock. Sugar Free is gonna be looking for a pulse bomb, but Barber could also shut this down. Finn though with the Transcendence is gonna be the best answer that the Shock have.
Ooh, overclock and Junbin jumps on top. He's saying trying to dodge, but Proby and Proper in the equation too. He's saying, man, Shock have kept their eyes on him, not letting him get away with the Soldier or Sojourn shenanigans that he did before. And now Titans, they full send. They have the rally. They have the sugar-free picks. And Shock, the respawn advantage, it doesn't even matter. The staggers are just too strong for the Titans, who will be capping with such a large time bank advantage. Jump in there is recontesting. Maybe to shave off a few more seconds. Here's Lucamino and Finn to 5 seconds gone, and Titans end with 3:21.
That is so much time in the bank. That is so much time. Like, especially compared to 1 minute on a map like Numbani that has such a long travel distance to get to that first point. 1 minute is not nearly enough time. Like, you don't get ultimates online with that amount of time in the bank. Vancouver, they might get 2. Like, charitably, they might get 2 full slates of ultimates, like, in that amount of time.
It's not bad that Titans keep getting their DPS shut down, at least mainly Heesang, who maybe has to play a little bit closer, at least within jump range, or somebody like Faith and Crimzo need to be in line of sight to enable him even more. But maybe you use Heesang as bait. You let Shock use all the cooldowns or have Junbin on jump on top of Heesang, and then Titans react to the Shock engage. It's maybe not necessarily bad to play that 4v5, and clearly Titans ain't doing anything wrong if they got a 3-minute 21 time bank, as you said. That is a huge advantage.
No, I was only laughing because you gave a much more, like, reasonable and charitable explanation of Heesang dying so often than
I tried to give a cookie over.
No. No, you did it. You're like the Brigitte, for real, for real. But he's saying, yeah, like, maybe you do use him as bait. It's kind of what the Vancouver Titans have been doing, and I think a lot of that, too, like, if you want to commend Shock a little bit more for getting that pick in the first place, is what you talked about before. This is a map that they've been very comfortable on, that they've been playing around and have done such a great job of manipulating where those team fights are going. It still hasn't worked out in full just because of how strong the Titans defense was, but Shock, they get a chance at this, and you can see they're going like super high aggro. Proby and Proper both on some of their best heroes, and it comes down to explosive damage, and you've got Lucamino there as well for the damage boost.
Good dynamites from Proby. His 3K is what opened up the point, but also Titans flopping their defense. It is what let Shock cap so quickly. It was Sugar Free's Genji that overextended, got picked. Now he's on the Tracer, something he's more comfortable with. Shock now starting to surround Punk, and especially those sticky grenades that are damage boosted there from Proper and Lucamino. This can hurt Punk a lot, and he didn't disengage quick enough. The focusing beam too is a killer. That Orisa to hold the high ground. Shock will be looking above this point where Titans can recontest. Punk is back on the Diva to maybe get some extra speed back here. 2 ticks now. Are Titans even bothering with this? There is a slight recontest, but Punk gets there at the last second. Crimzo protecting Heesang with everything they can. The nano needs to be given to Punk. He's barely holding on. Needs to stay within line of sight of his Ana. And Jumpin's getting pocketed by the Mercy, and even with the extra healing, doesn't survive through. The Titans retake is working out.
Oh, the Pulse Bomb 2 stick onto Proper. That is going to eliminate the second source of damage, and oh, Jen, the Kitsune Rush was just not enough to be able to get Lucamino back into the fight soon enough for the res.
That was the longest 1 minute fight.
Yeah. Whew. I was like, wait, was that actually 2 minutes?
I thought they had another fight.
The clock.
And all of a sudden, the round is over. I was like, oh.
Oh, man. Yeah, I like that they were able to get away with a lot more than I would have expected there. And based on how quick their very first round went for their attack push, I was like, okay, maybe. Like, it's starting to work out a lot. But Titans just got more ults online, more answers faster, and we're able to find more value with their ults, which is something that you're able to do just a little bit better on the defense when you have a particular game plan in mind once you've already set up.
Yeah, it's better to take things step by step than run in and trip. So I like that Shock took their time to remove Punk from that high ground. Orisa is just such a good space holder with all the armor, the fortify and everything. So Shock focused all that attention on setting up Proby on the flank or on the coast side with Luke Mino and then pushing in at the same time. So you're seeing more evidence of Shock working on that coordination. They took care of Punk. The rest of the Titans left, though. Shock didn't want to overextend and get more kills, which would have been a more guaranteed cap there. And it's a really good retake by the Titans to deny the full cap at the end of the day. Titans have so much time to get that 90.7%, which will get them to match point.
They waited so patiently around that corner. It looked like they weren't going to be able to get the touch either, but Faith was already still behind the Shock. And it allowed enough time for the Titans to be able to get back in with the D.Va as well. And Crimzo had that nano boost online almost immediately. So that was really nice to see. But Titans, they're going through to try to play with this blade from Sugar Free. He's saying as well, this is the same comp that the Titans used to try to get the take last time. And yeah, you hope that Shock don't make that same mistake twice. And you saw that immediate backup, Jen.
Yeah. Junbin is also playing from under the Titans. And man, they're just using the most amount of damage that they can with the Genji and the Bastion, but the lack of Symmetra means that they can't go from high ground to high ground as easily, but I guess they could just walk on foot. Jumpin is still below, but it's great positioning because he stayed in line of sight of Luke Mino and Finn, allowing him to not only heal, but get back to his team. Titans would have killed him. Well, I guess deflecting all the damage right back into him is a pick for the Titans. Now a second tick. Shock will have to do this 4v5 without a tank, and Finn has to lead that with Proper to touch the point one last time. Jumpin is on the hip, and Finn is saving the day on this end. The double headshot. It's winnable, but how do you do this without healing if you're the Shock? Proper has to hit a miracle pulse bomb, and maybe buy time for the Proby Ash, but I guess you don't need it. You don't need the ultimates. You just need the mechanics.
No way. Holy crap. Like Finn. Let's not forget how much of a sharpshooter that this player can be. I mean, you get a chance to sometimes see the Finn Moira, okay? There's not a whole lot of like strong mechanical presence coming out from having to shoot your shot, but Finn single-handedly saved that push, and now you've got the Transcendence to boot, which you might need now because Jumpin to go down.
Sugar Free's deflecting damage and always killing Jumpin. What is going on with that? But Proper, great value on that pulse bomb, finding that trade, 4v4, but here comes the Soundbear re-engage from the Titans, zoning off the Shock, who react with the Transcendence there of Finn to anchor themselves on the objective, which Titans aren't really pressuring. They're almost letting Shock come to the middle of the map so that Titans can surround them once again. He's saying it's ready to decloak on the point, maybe even hack Jumpin. Jumpin has to be careful to not bait himself or walk into the Titans trap. He realizes this and backs away, and the blade of Sugar Free, once the Shock are low, cuts through one, but not the second when I thought he could. But the job has been done by the team of the Titans, who work together to dismantle Shock one by one and get the final tick to put themselves on match point.
Oh, that was so close. That was so close, and for a long time, I started to believe that the Shock could get that map win. Especially after the hero performances coming out from the backline. Finn and Luca Mino just keeping the entire defense alive for that fourth round. I was so hopeful, but Jen, like this entire series, Shock has gotten better and better, and Titans have gotten better and better. The improvement in real time is so palpable and is so fun to watch.
And Sugar Free returning to the Genji was a huge boon for them. The Dragon Blade pop-off, he always finds value with this. Even if he didn't get the second swipe on that second kill that he should have gotten, the Titans knew how to support and move up with him. Sometimes the Shock can be disconnected at those points where there's really good ideas and good windows of engage, but the Shock aren't always together with this. But the Shock are trying different compositions, different substitutes, and they're looking better and better every day. But Rose were also almost close to making history. If Shock lose this next map, this would be the first time in their franchise history that they would miss playoffs. And Titans, of all teams, could be the ones to do it.
Oh my gosh. And that's like so devastating as well, just knowing how many titles, like championships, the San Francisco Shock have won. But it does come down to this next map in the lineup to see whether or not Shock can bring it back. And that's going to be Suravasa on the other side of this break.
It's match point for the Vancouver Titans. Sugar Free all smiles after another pop-off performance, but Rose, it's been so much counterpicking between Proper and Sugar Free. That's been the show match that I've been keeping my eyes on, whether it's Proper's Torbjorn, Echo, to Sugar Free's Tracer, Genji. That's been kind of the showdown that is defining who is winning these fights, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. I am really excited to see this high-level rock, paper, scissors coming through from both of these teams, because at the end of the day, that really has been a huge difference maker for where these fights are going in the favor of either the Shock or the Titans. If you have the better hero matchups, then that's where that fight's gonna go. But on Suravasa, this is a map, this is a game type that those constant swaps don't pay off as much. Because if you are off kilter at all when it comes down to your ultimate rotations, or how often you're getting those online, that's devastating. These points go by so fast.
I don't know how to feel about Shock's chances on Suravasa when they got 3 out on Suravasa by London, but then won 3-0 on Surabasa against the Atlanta Reign, which is a formidable team. But this is also, who cares about that? Because they have a different tank that's playing, which completely changes the landscape of what kind of style your team plays. It's all directed, especially in this meta, about your either your Junker Queen or your Orisa, or I guess in Titan's case, a D.Va. So see how the Shock do on Surabasa with Junbin in.
I hope they've taken some really deep breaths, because being on match point with one map sitting in between you and potentially going home for the season, that's enough to break anybody's confidence or strength going into a match. And Shock, we've seen how they can get affected by some of these mental booms, especially looking at their last series versus London Spitfire. And I hope that they can feel the energy of all of their fans behind them, because they're gonna need it heading into this next one. I mean, you can even see that, like, Jumpins has to play this so patiently. You're really looking at either the DPS on both of these teams to get an opening pick to really start to open things up, and Lucamino doesn't know what hit him.
He didn't even turn around. Caught lacking. He was just trying to keep Junbin alive. Titans made it look like they were all engaging onto that Orisa, but then the DPS of Sugar Free and Heesang, while everyone from Shock was occupado, they went after the critical components of the Shock, which were the healers. So great first fight by the Titans, and an important bounce back, because we also failed to mention the Vancouver Titans reverse sweep. They got reverse swept by Toronto, and Surabasa was the first map that they started crumbling on.
Yeah, it's kind of coming down to who's going to drop the spaghetti on this one. And you really hope that the series can go the distance, especially if you're a Shock fan. But this is starting to look really rough. They just got picked apart in the same way that we have identified in these past two maps as being a problem. If they're playing too far spread apart, Titans have so much mobility, especially with Crimson and the Kiriko, to follow up on this damage. Either Faith is going to go taxi around Sugar Free and Heesang to make these quick rotations, and Crimson can just meet them for a nice kunai to finish somebody off.
Compositionally, like Titans. Yeah, compositionally, Titans are doing a better job. They had Orisa last time, they go for a Queen. Now Heesang on the Sojourn instead of a Soldier, so quicker disengages, quicker engages. Titans want to be able to put pressure on, and here's the Kitsune Rush to do just that. Junbin is slowed too by the Sojourn, and Heesang putting himself in that position, gets picked there by Finn at a distance, who continues to make that subtle impact on the Zenyatta. The Amp Matrix from Lucamino placed by the Shock to protect themselves towards the Titans engage, but once the Titans zone themselves away out of LOS of that Amp Matrix, they still found the damage they needed to kill off the Shock. Yes, they give up the point, but the Titans should be able to take this back once they take care of Junbin.
Ooh, but the Terra Surge, is that a big difference maker? Faith Sound Barrier was off the board after both of the support ultimates had to be used, but now Junbin's back into a corner. Has to try to get away. Oh, he can't do it.
Good stall. Good stall by the man Junbin, but he was the only one there. And you see how it takes an army to kill an Orisa. There is the Rampage just to close the gap. The Titans don't want to let the Shock re-engage, but their Finn Transcendence is going to keep this contested as much as possible, as Titans are still trying to flip it, and Punk didn't get the healing in time, but he got the bleed onto Lucamino, so Shock don't have any support, but they have all the kills, so it doesn't matter if their healers are missing. Shock are barely holding on.
This is huge, though, because that's not enough time for the Vancouver Titans to come in and get that full recapture. Maybe you end up sending in Heesang now to be able to try to get the touch with the overclock that is going to come out, but where's the picks?
Okay, well, Titans were able to contest the overclock, put fear in Shock's eyes, and made them very unhealthy. No kills, but Shock, once they do heal up, they're back over. Junbin getting chased around, is escaping, but no! Punk on the Doomfist collapses on them. There's the Dragon Blade of Sugar Free. And that's all she wrote for the Titans to finally win the first point. That got so close.
That got really close, and Vancouver shocked. Vancouver Shock. Maybe that's a new rebrand looking forward to next season. But hey, San Francisco Shock, they made that incredibly competitive, just being able to force out some of those highly valuable support ultimates. With the sound barrier off the boards, Shock are just able to make it hurt where it counts a little bit onto the Titans. But where we're heading over to next, going over to Temple, like, Titans gotta beat the Shock there, but they're bringing a dive of their own. Punk's on the Doomfist now. Oh, see ya, Finn.
whoop, jump scare. Titans, barrier engage, Doomfist. Doomfist is so good at quick engages. And especially on Suravasa where the walls are so close together, especially around Temple, you're almost guaranteed some kind of stun and some kind of division between the Shock. And Titans taking that initiative is amazing for them.
Most of these flashpoints really are close quarters. Even like you can see Shock walking over Palace a little bit there too. Like that's such a small point on the map regardless. And just how do they get into this one when Punk is able to just kind of slam somebody against the wall? It's gonna be tough. I guess the hack is gonna be one way to do it, but where's the follow-up here from the Shock?
Oh, somehow Finn is in firing range and Heesang is off the map, so you don't get to see too many environmental kills on this map, but
not really.
There's 4v4. Shock only missing a Zen, but Titans missing Heesang. Not a lot of damage to protect this point, but Punk is doing his best to make sure it's capped, but the rest of Titans are suffering. Junbin redirecting his attention perfectly to kill 2 and actually make it 3 or 4. Junbin's going for the 8s here on Temple, and Shock get the point back.
And Proe's gonna deny it from him. That's it was a team effort, right? You could, maybe we still give it to him as half credit there. But Junbin, what a fantastic performance there on the Wrecking Ball to be able to wrestle back control of this flashpoint from the Titans. They don't have a whole lot left in the tank right now either. I mean, Punk's gonna switch back over to the Junker Queen. Junbin's on the Junker Queen. What is going on right now when it comes down to how much these teams are swapping? It's gonna work out fine because like there's still ultimates to try to get back into this point, and they're not either in like one fight territory, but you know, Proper's hunting for this pulse bomb.
He's saying overclock enabled by the Kitsune Rush and also the shout of Punk. Titans wanting to flip this and Shock getting close to the EMP. They're win condition, but Proper couldn't get away fast enough. Not enough blinks before the headshot came in. And the dominoes just fall for the Shock, where Titans will be taking Temple and putting themselves on match point, one step away from knocking Shock out of play-ins.
Now we're going over to the bottom left-hand corner, and this is going to be a photo finish to the race line here. San Francisco Shock, they've got Lucamino now going back over to the Lucio. That's going to help them be able to make these rotations just a little bit faster. But Shock might just have to invest the EMP here. Try to shut the Titans down and keep control of this point. If they fail to use this EMP, then they might not get another one up in time to be able to actually take this back from the Titans. The Titans are going to get to that flashpoint first.
I'm worried if Proby goes for this. His team are quite far away. He translocates out. It's the follow-up of the Shock there. They advance towards the point, but the cover of the Titans behind this fountain protected them long enough that this EMP didn't really net them the Shock much value. So plan B goes into effect. You got the Kitsune Rush, but it's countered by the Sound Bearer Fate. But Heesang was out of line of sight of that barrier, so he's picked. Great identification of Proper. Now with the shout of Junbin, they move forward to take care of the Titans once and for all. The ante of the Punk Rampage slowed down the Shock a little bit, allowed Titans to find some equalizing kills. And at the end, you're left with probably a 3v3 or maybe a 2v2, where it's up to Proper to clutch for his team, and so he does.
Proper go kill. Proper go kill. Initiated and activated. He's back. This is play-ins Proper right now. And this is what we expect coming out from such an incredible player. Like, it was just his first season last season, and he's able to have such an impressive clutch factor when it really counts. Jumpin has the Rampage on as well. Let's see if they're able to just get it done, though, with just an aggressive sound barrier.
Junbin engages in with the Rampage, the Sound Bearer for the quick fight. Finn was coming in late to this too, so the Shock took a big risk, but had this window of opportunity that they felt they needed to execute. But a Shock, as they overextended past the archway, Titans, they split up and then killed Junbin as he ran in. So how did the Shock do this without a tank? Well, they're just gonna get, well, bulldozed by the Kitsune Rush fight by Titans, but still a 75% cap for Shock is a good start.
It's a great start, and when you also forced out the Kitsune Rush, I don't think that was necessary for that fight. Vancouver Titans only had to deal with 2 more members, and yeah, they were a little slippery. Like, you got the supports on there to try to keep each other up, but you still could have had that as another engagement tool coming into this one. But, you know, he's saying might just be able to shut them down.
As Proper, or as Proby crossed over the headshot before he could find the jump, Shock have to reverse sweep this map. They have to reverse sweep the series to keep their playoff hopes alive. And with not having the point, this is difficult. The Titans are not afraid to initiate early outside of this to really catch Shock off guard. Now Titans are just scouting for maybe a pulse bomb opportunity there by Sugarfree, who doesn't want to take any risks either, is going to play this corner and maybe try to pull somebody behind Junbin, or if Junbin takes enough damage, go for the pulse onto the tank. Sugarfree now letting his presence be known, hides behind the fountain. It is going now to 95+% for the Titans. That could be sending Shock home, and it's Proby that strikes through the heart of Heesang. And it's a 4v5. Shock still at the Kitsune Rush. Junbin bests Punk on the tank, and Shock will flip and buy themselves more time.
This is coming down to the wire. Oh, the Titans still have a chance to be able to get back into this one. Palace is going to be a pretty big point to actually get through. And Proper is hunting down a pick, knows that Sugarfree has his pulse bomb online, is just going to try to mark him. Nobody on the Titans wants to come back in and touch. So we do get to go to a fourth flashpoint on Suravasa, and we're going to have to see where we head over next. Sugarfree and Proper did not get a chance to use either of these pulse bombs yet, but let's go over to Ruin, see where we can actually put the pedal to the metal. Shock, they do have one of those flashpoints under their belt, but they gotta keep up this pressure. Going with confidence.
Sound barrier to sound barrier, but Titans, not every member benefited from this, but they got the Kitsune Rush. Finn drops it too. It's all about mechanics. It's all about the Titans coming together. Great pulse bomb by Sugarfree, and Punk leads the way, slicing one by one. The Titans will be capping Ruins first, but how long do they defend, and do they defend till victory?
Whoa, they're pushing really far forward. They have the Rampage, and they also have this Overclock, and Heesang has been willing to play so far forward just to secure 1 or 2 picks. And at the end of the day, sometimes trading his life is enough if he's able to also take somebody down with him. Oh my goodness.
We thought the Sugarfree Proper was the showdown to watch. It's clearly Heesang and Proby. They've been trading blow for blow. It's Titans in the driver's seat though. An overclock from Heesang. He's unleashing, and Proper has to blink away. Pokey rampages in. He's not letting you escape or hide or cry to your mommy. Titans now take back-to-back fights, and they're staggering Shock. They're getting in their heads.
Shock have one last fight to be able to get back into this one as that flashpoint starts to tick up towards territory that they won't be able to come back from. The Titans don't have any ultimates left in the tank, but they have a lot of mechanical skill, and that has been enough at this point. They're getting surrounded.
Junbin knows he has to contest this and stay on the point, so the rest of the Shock are simply going to have to suffer. It's 5v3. Junbin may get the flip, but now has to come off of the point. The Titans are taking the fight elsewhere, so Shock are so split. Titans get all the kills, and they may have stumbled, but the Titans rose stronger than the fall. They take the series and march one step closer to playoffs, and historically, this will be the first time that Shock miss out on this. The Titans, all smiles. The desk predicted it correctly. Johnny with the 3-0, and Shock devastated that this is where their season ends.
They fought so hard the entire season. It started off rough for the San Francisco Shock. This was a team that had a lot of expectations and a lot of weight on their shoulders, especially knowing that a lot of this team was founded on the principle of strong mechanical skill and also helping some of these more rookie players rise to the occasion of the Overwatch League. Sadly, it's just not going to be enough, and despite overcoming challenge after challenge, you can see how that loss affects them. This was some playoffs. Winning in every single match here is kind of a win in when you look at it, and sadly it's going to be a loss and they're out. That is the end of their season, but they had such incredible comebacks through and through.
And you and I were talking like, man, we really thought Shock were going to be able to pull through, make the series close. They tried changes that we weren't expecting, but one difference maker for the Titans is your player of the match. It has to be Sugarfree. Who else?
Sugarfree. Every time there was a Blade online, Felt like there was gonna be 2 players, 3 players, everybody falling like dominoes. Sugar Free has really shown us why he's one of the strongest Alarm Rookie of the Year candidates. Not just his mechanics on the Genji, but also take a look at how well he's able to track players on the Tracer as well. That was a double pulse bomb kill, heading into a ton of fight finishers from this player as well.
Just Genji value, Tracer value, that's what you need of him, and that is what he delivered in this meta, where going up against Proper, even I was worried for him. Sugar Free has been competing since he's, 13, 14 years old?
Yeah.
From the last night's leftover days. This is a guy that we can call a veteran at the age of 18. Because of what he brings to his team. The Genji Tracer pop-off is what allows him to take the win for his team. And also the fact that Proper tried to counterpick him so many times with the Torbjorn to stop the Tracer, with the Echo to stop the Genji. And Sugar Free proved that he may trip up sometimes, but at the end, he gives his team a win, and Sugar Free well-deserved.
Well, every player is human, right? Every player is human, and so yeah, they can end up be stumbling a little bit, but it is such a strong testament to how Vancouver Titans play together as a team. This is a team that has been together since the beginning of the season. They have had so much time to be able to work with each other in order to form those bonds and form that trust to be able to pick each other up when somebody does fall. And especially when you've got such strong mechanical skill and of course that teamwork to all align together, that's when true stars are born. Let's see how far this Titans roster really can go in this play-ins bracket.
And stars were born and molded on the side of the Shock to a great season for them, developing these rookies to bringing out changes in a lower bracket, high stakes situation. The Max and Junbin swaps to some support Max to Lucamino in. Shock knew that they had issues and did everything, worked so hard to correct them. They looked good, but not good enough against the Titans. So it's a 3-0 for the Titans as they move on to our lower bracket semi-final. But we'd love to hear what the desk thinks, because they were all right on their predictions for once. Let's hear it.
Welcome back, one and all. Yeah, well, Lemon, what have we ever got to?
Lemon!
I even got the 3-0 right.
Once? Maybe twice. We were right, you know?
We were at least 2 times we were
Yeah.
right. Well, Lemon chose violence. So did the Vancouver Titans. So everything is on brand. This was a dominant performance. This was a beatdown. I mean, Shock clearly did not find the answer to what Vancouver Titans were throwing their way, and Vancouver Titans looked so good.
The answer was not Max on support.
It was not, indeed.
Close. Could have been.
No, I don't think it.
Maybe.
I don't think so.
No, they figured it out right after the first map, right? They played Max on Brig, and then after that, you know, was Max on Lucio, as we're seeing right now. And things didn't pan out, so starting in map 2, they subbed out Max and put their actual support in.
It honestly didn't feel like it mattered. Like, I don't think Max played bad on map 1, and I don't think Shock played better with other supports in. So in the end, I don't know if you can even talk about comp gap or decision making here. Vancouver was just such a strong team overall. In hindsight, I think you can say any questions you might criticize from the Shock decisions, I just don't think they mattered. I think this result was going to be this way no matter what. Just depends, maybe you win a map if you're Shock. But this clear difference of strength between these teams.
Yeah, it was the San Francisco Shock who, instead of going out with a bang, went out with a whimper. Just pretty bad 3-0 loss. I mean, it just felt like it was a team that's been in disarray for quite some time now, and like they couldn't really figure out this meta, which is pretty shocking to say, considering the fact that they went to map 5 against Atlanta Reign in the last regular season match, right? And we're like, whoa! Is this the meta? Is San Francisco Shock going to be good in this meta? And you had like Kuluz tweeting, you know, like maybe Shock would have been good in the playoffs if they made it. They didn't make it, of course. But this was the San Francisco Shock lineup that was just like all over the place, like committing to Zenyatta ball on Zerasa. Okay.
It just never felt, and I feel like that is kind of applicable for the Shock for most of the season. It just didn't feel like they had. It didn't click. It didn't click with the players, with each other in that team, and also didn't click with the meta. I just felt like it was kind of all over the place and felt more like a FFA like situation somewhere in quick play.
Yeah, and I mean that happens, but considering the stature of San Francisco Shock, they are a 2-time Overwatch League champion. I think everyone has, rightfully, very high expectations. You know, we ranked them number 1 on our podcast, for example. We're just like, we're going into the season. We're like, they're the best team going into the season. That was, I know, Jake. That was a bit of a cap. But I think that really tells the story. Like going into the season, we thought they would be one of the best teams in the league.
No one would have put them as low as they are.
Yeah, no one would put them as low as they are, and so therefore it is a disappointment for them to go out this early. But they just couldn't get there. And time again in Overwatch history, we have seen teams who can't really fit into the meta, can't figure stuff out. And it really did feel like Shock throughout the entire season. They just couldn't get it going with this new roster. Need to be said, like a lot of new players coming into this team, they couldn't figure it out.
And on the flip side, Titans were consistent all season long with a roster that a lot of people were doubting. I mean, I think most people would have called them like a mid-table team coming into the season, but I think now they've clearly outperformed that. They look like a serious contender for playoffs. There's still very tough matches ahead for any team, especially in the lower bracket. But I mean, I think this Titan squad has already proved themselves beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And we now do have a winner's interview ready for all of you as well. So please welcome in Crimzo from the Vancouver Titans. Congrats!
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh!
All right.
What are you guys talking about? There's nothing.
I had nothing to see here. Everything is just a trash can.
I was not ready for that.
Okay, not only your play is a big statement, this is a statement as well. I take it you guys weren't too worried going up against the San Francisco Shock?
No, we were pretty confident going in. The only thing we were kind of mostly worried about is like them playing kind of weird stuff that we didn't really like see in practice before. But we knew that if we just stuck to our strengths and played together, that we'd be able to take care of them pretty easily.
All right. I mean, just quickly, looking forward, your next match is going to be against London Spitfire or the Washington Justice. Whoever wins that match is going to be going up against the Vancouver Titans. Crimson, who do you think is going to be your next opponent?
I'm definitely going to say London. I think they're looking really good. They have their style, obviously, and I think it's going to be a good match. I think it's going to be tough. I think we can definitely win, and we'll just see what happens.
I really want to address this trash bin, but I feel like I let Jake do that, you know, the expert when it comes to the all chat matters. So I guess I'll stick to my question and, you know, be a bit serious for a while. The Vancouver Titans, of course, you only have you and Faith in the backline for the supports, and, you know, it's been a bit of a shake-up now with the supports, with the introduction of Ilari. Did only you and Faith on the roster, did that limit the experiments going on when it comes to compositions? Did you try out Ilari? Did you figure out that this is not a hero for us? What made you stick to what you're playing currently, and what do you think about the different support compositions we're seeing in the league right now?
For us, when Ilari came out, you know, we tried a couple different combinations of, like, you know, myself on Ilari or Faith on Ilari, and we've just came to realize that that's not really for us. Like, we're gonna kind of just stick to our strengths and just kind of go from there. And then if other teams, you know, do start pulling out the Ilari, then we're gonna figure out ways to beat it, like that makes sense for us, basically. So, you know, we might pull it out. We might not. We'll see what happens. We're definitely open to trying. And yeah.
So, Crimzo, I just wanted to ask you, you know, you've been around in the league for a long time, right? You've played against the Shock many times before, and they've been historically a tough franchise to beat. And so now, to get such a dominant 3-0, to send them home, especially on behalf of Heesang, who came into your team, has had such great performances. What did that mean to you guys to be eliminating his former team, sending Shock packing here in the Overwatch League?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously very successful work, but I don't think any of us really cared about them. I think we're just kind of looking forward at possibly London or Washington next, and then we'll see what happens from there. But you know, I'm just really happy that we were able to close it out this time and not get reverse swept. But you know, moving forward, just see what happens, and we're just gonna keep doing our best.
Right on. Well, we are very excited to see your next match. Thank you so much for joining us for a quick chat. Congratulations to you and the team. We can't wait to see more.
Amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grimzo.
Well, yeah, there's a pin with a name on it. We're gonna keep it classy here on the desk, as per usual. We also want to see
like
the
when
San
the players get
Francisco
down and dirty
Shock
for us, though. I
off,
like
of
it.
course.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an up and down season. It's a historic franchise. Unfortunately, their road ends here. And we thought, since all the other teams are trying to punch their ticket to Toronto, San Francisco Shock they now have their all-inclusive ticket to, well, not Toronto,
Paradise?
that's for sure.
Paradise.
It's gonna be sandy. It's gonna be cozy. They're gonna go on a little break.
Bring it out.
You know.
Gotta get prepped.
Yeah, they're gonna. We prepped something here. That's right. That's right.
Time to go to the beach. Woo!
Off they go.
Yay!
You're on vacation because you lost.
The good news is you're not alone. You know.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
it's nice.
you got some
Gamers,
friends.
you know,
We
got
joined some
sunshine.
friends there, some unlikely franchises there as well. I think some of the names on that screen, some people might not have. Why is it so sandy?
I have no idea. There's sand all over this.
What do you mean? It's sand toys.
Yeah, I guess so.
Build sandcastles with them. Of course, they got to get sandy. You know?
Yeah.
Duh, Zoe, duh. Well, as we're trying to clean off sand, which I think is a lost endeavor, we are also getting prepped for our next match of the day, another elimination match. Can we continue to believe in the Alpha Jesus, or will London actually gonna spit fire going up against the opposition? We'll find out after this break.